Grand National, fuck being rational, give them what they.
Hey, sweetness.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Whew, I'm a little tired, so excuse the minor screw up at the very beginning. But once again, thank you for joining me here. Conversations with Taz, or Think About It Thursdays. Let's jump right into it. Coming from thenewrepublic.com, Elon Musk's Doge staffers have quite a nice salary, thanks to taxpayers. I thought we were cutting down on expenditures. And this isn't a real department. So, Doge staffers are making bank as they wage war on the federal government, often from the same agencies they are cutting. Isn't that, isn't that just special? Isn't that just lovely? Still think that he's trimming the fat and doing what's best for everyone? Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency is charged with eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, but some of its employees are earning hefty taxpayer-funded paychecks. And they're in court right now because they claim that he's not in charge. He's just a special advisor to the president. Amy Gleason is in charge, and they're in court regarding this. Now, the court case is swiftly falling apart. We saw that coming because if you remember the other night at Trump's congressional address, he said out of his own mouth that Elon Musk was the head of it. And now they're receiving paychecks. Wired reports that some software engineers and executives who are part of Doge are drawing six-figure salaries, in some cases from the government agencies they are cutting. For example, Jeremy Lewin, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, a Doge staffer assigned to the General Services Administration who helped lead attacks on the U.S. Agency for International Development, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the National Institutes of Health, is pulling in $167,000 per year. I have actual IT credentials. In another instance, Kyle Schutt, a software engineer at Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is making a salary of $195,200, the maximum annual salary that a general schedule federal employee can make, including bonuses. He hasn't even gotten a bonus yet, has he? Do we know? But this is a meritocracy, right? And it's above board with all the transparency. Right? And Nate Kavanaugh, 28, whose work for Doge comprises interviewing GSA employees, makes over $120,500 per year. That's close to what the average GSA employee, who typically has been with the agency for 13 years, earns per year at $128,000 $128,565,000. When he began recruiting for Doge in November, Musk described the work as tedious and said compensation is zero. I remember that because there was a series of tweets where he was recruiting. Calling his ideal candidates super high IQ, small government revolutionaries willing to work 80 plus hours per week on unglamorous cost cutting. So far, the pseudo agency has tapped into vital government systems and fired thousands of employees. And they seem to have one thing in common, well, two things in common: sucking up to Musk and being white supremacist. Now it appears that compensation is far higher than zero for at least a few employees. Despite Musk describing Doge as maximum transparent, spending and salary ranges for the effort have not been made public. The recent report says that Doge has received about $40 million in funding, and the White House did not respond to Wired's questions about salary ranges or where Doge's funding is coming from in the federal budget. I don't remember that being on the docket for Congress. And y'all know I'm all the way nosy when it comes to Congress and all the congressional hearing. I don't remember seeing that. I'm gonna double check in the morning. Who are we kidding in the morning? I'm gonna double check as soon as we get done here. Doge's cuts are ostensibly supposed to be saving taxpayers money, but not only are some of the employees drawing a high salary, government spending has actually gone up since the inauguration. Who'd have thunk it? Who would have let me find a mirror real quick? Plus, while Doge was claiming billions of dollars in savings, it has had to go back and make corrections to many of its claims, showing that its boasts were exaggerated or fraudulent. Oh, so we have found the fraud. It's Musk. The high salaries seem to be a part of many lies coming from Musk and his pet project about how much money Doge is saving and what it's actually doing. It shouldn't be much of a surprise from a greedy welfare. It shouldn't be much of a surprise from a greedy welfare billionaire who owes much of his wealth to government funding and who is enriching himself even more with his and Donald Trump's government overhaul. They have convinced y'all to hate bailouts and socialism and handouts so much for your fellow Americans, for yourself, for people who truly need it, but not for those that don't. And I know y'all that have been here for a while, you've heard me say it before, and I'm going to keep saying it until it actually gets drilled into everybody's damn heads. Y'all have no problem with giving money to people who have surpluses of money, who have all the resources and all the opportunities in the world. Like, you don't have a problem witnessing the wealthy receive welfare. And I keep telling y'all, they'll rebrand and change the name of stuff, but it all is the same fucking thing. Alrighty, moving on. Coming from Politico, judge orders Trump administration to pay some foreign aid bills by Monday. We know Trump has a problem paying bills. Okay, and before you go, well, he wouldn't be able to get certain stuff on credit. Baby, credit scores only matter to about you and I, okay? The regular schmegular people. Anybody else, they're not pulling credit scores for them folks. How do you think you can have people who legitimately have rags to riches stories here in the United States, and all of a sudden they're buying houses? If you've ever been through the housing process, they're getting all these cars, they're getting all this stuff on credit. They don't give a fuck about that. They do not give a fuck about credit once you get money. If Donald Trump was a regular person, his credit would be shit. He does not like paying bills. He has to be forced to do it. He would have all the disconnects, all the final notices, all the late charges, service charge, you name it. He got fees, and late. But here we go. A federal judge has set a new deadline of Monday for the Trump administration to pay a large batch of backlogged invoices for foreign aid programs, but he sharply scaled back the amount of money that will need to be sent out by then. U.S. District Judge Amir Ali issued the new directive Thursday, just a day after the Supreme Court rejected the administration's emergency appeal of an earlier order that Ali issued in a pair of lawsuits challenging President Donald Trump's broad freeze on foreign aid. The judge's earlier order had imposed a deadline of February 26 for the State Department to send out an estimated $2 billion the government owes to contractors and grant recipients who run aid programs abroad. Now, before somebody comes in here and goes, well, where are they going to get that? How are they going to find the money? This money was already earmarked to go. Okay, it is like, say I hand you $1,000 and tell you that this $1,000 was for you and 4 other people watching my house for 3 weeks. Okay, I done put the money in your hand, and then say my daddy comes and goes, oh, we're gonna put a pause, and he takes the money and he holds it in his hand. The judge is just saying, give that money back, disperse it. If you don't want to give it to this person to disperse it, you disperse it yourself. But it has to be dispersed amongst these people. It's already there. Okay, they ain't got to hold no fish fries or nothing. Okay, it is already there. Ooh, child. And for those that reached out today, I know I did not do a midday catch up. I am fine. I had a couple of parents of some of the kids that I tutor reach out to me because these kids had questions regarding things that are going on right now in politics and in the world. And they had questions about, has this happened before in history? How was it rectified? Was it rectified? How did people get through it? So I was focused on them. Before somebody goes, oh, you could have live streamed that. No, I couldn't, because folks get weird. And I wasn't going to have those babies' voices on the internet because, somebody will record it and try to find out where they are. Absolutely not. And I didn't want them to feel self-conscious or feel like they no longer had a safe space with me. And I didn't want them to feel like they couldn't ask the questions that they wanted to ask. But we'll be back on 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. And if you haven't joined us for one of the Eager Lives, it's on the Eager TikTok page. And we're there 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central every single day. Now, let's keep it moving. We'll do one more article and then we'll discuss a video. They told you the fish fry was this one. Well, as you can see, it looked like Muskie for all his musky maneuver, and he needed a little bit more money to pay these folks. So it might be his fish fry. I wouldn't eat that fish though. Remember his son out here putting boogers on everything. We said we like Keith Sweat's booger sound. We didn't say we wanted boogers flying. Coming from the Hill, Trump says Hamas will be over unless it releases all hostages. Trump, you're not the president of the globe, and you don't have uninhibited powers within the confines of the United States, bruh. And don't nobody believe you could fight. Okay, the whole world is praising Zelensky because we all was waiting for him to turn around and knock you the fuck out. Okay, we was waiting for him to give you the 2-piece with a Popeyes biscuit on the side, no drink. All right, come on. Trump on Wednesday issued a warning to Hamas to release its remaining hostages after the White House held direct talks with the group officially designated as a terrorist organization. You need to also list the IDF and BB from Philly as that too. I'm just saying. Shalom Hamas means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, no later, and immediately return all of the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it's over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you are sick and twisted, Trump wrote on Truth Social. First of all, Trump, do you think anybody outside of this fucking country is looking at Truth Social? where truth goes to die? Absolutely not. Okay, no. Okay, no. Number one. Number two, did you talk to BB about all the dead bodies he done kept? Are you talking to BB about all the Israeli hostages that Hamas has that he is responsible for killing? Because how do you look for hostages by bombing everything? How are you concerned about hostages by not providing food and water? These are the questions everybody needs to be asking. Before you start pointing a finger and blaming, ask these questions. Arena, I'm still trying to figure out how any of it is real. Because at this point, going through things with students is getting harder and harder and harder. Especially children who had the opportunity to have relationships with great grandparents and grandparents, and these people talking about what they lived through, family members of theirs that fought in wars and how despicable people were, and they're seeing the people that their family members fought against as their neighbors, and they're seeing what was fought against being cheered on, and they're having a disconnect, and they're like, oh, we thought that there were more people fighting for additional change, and this is where we're going. It's heartbreaking and it's frustrating. And speaking of things that, how is this okay? Is this a fever dream? Tot Mom, if you're not sure who Tot Mom is, you'll know in a minute, decided to join TikTok and subsequently Substack. And if you're not following me on Substack, why? If you're not subscribed, why? And if you're not following me anyplace else, all the links are in my link tree, and you're not bringing somebody with you, why? Because if you can platform before a school shooter, then one murderer, Gypsy Rose, and now a child murderer, why can't y'all platform educators? Why can't y'all platform activists? I'm going to stick a pin in it. But the internet, somebody on the internet said, give Tot Mom grace. And they said bet. And they summoned Nancy Grace. Now, do I have some beef with Nancy Grace on a number of things? Absolutely. Nobody agrees with everything that I say and everything that I do, so it's understandable. But there is one thing I stand 10 toes down for that Nancy Grace does. And this is coming after Tot Mom. Take a look. It's 2 videos. I'll see you in 2 and 2.
The LGBTQ community. Dr. Bethany, they have enough problems. They are attacked every day just because of who they are, how they feel, how they present. Really, for nothing. They're attacked for nothing. And now they've got Tot Mom jumping on the bandwagon. I mean,
they're attacked.
Who needs help like that? Did they ask her to help them? I doubt it.
As a proponent for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights.
Troy Slayton, you heard her state, I am, quote, in the legal field since 2011. You mean when she was tried for her daughter's murder? I wonder where Kelly was while she was at work. That said, then of course there was the man she lived off. This married man, after he kicks his wife out, he now says he regrets that. Well, boo-hoo. Now, she's standing on the shoulders of George Anthony and using him to promote her new TikTok venture. I mean, it's just a string of one guy at what?
I have one word for that. Parasite. She's a parasite. She lives off her hosts.
But let me ask you, are you going to subscribe? Are you willing to fork over $100 to Tot Mom Casey Anthony so we can hear her spew about George and Cindy some more? George is lying and somehow managed to pass a poly. Well, Tot Mom never even took a poly. You did that to yourself, woman. It wasn't thrust upon you. You did that to yourself. The return of Tot Mom. It feels like a dirt sandwich in my mouth. TikTok stardom ahead as Casey Anthony haters beg, please go away. I don't know what Substack means. It means money to her in her pocket. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Legal advocate? No, you're not. You were tried for the murder of your little girl. Legal advocate, my rear end. She's been involved, let me look at this, in the legal system since 2011. You mean when you were tried for murder? Advocate for my daughter? Advocate for my daughter? Who called 911? Not you. No one would even know her name if she had not been charged with murdering her daughter. I just heard her say there are people close to me that have been targeted. Like Kelly, when she took police to where she worked, to Universal Studios, she got all the way in the car with cops, all the way to the security gate, all the way through the security gate to the building, out of the car, walking in the building to find her boss. And she says, okay, you got me. I haven't worked here in 3 years. What are you babbling about? What is this gibberish?
The jury disagreed with you and agreed with her.
I'm asking you right now, does it make sense to you? Is that what you would do if you saw your child lifeless, drenched? Go
Obviously
sleep
not.
up with your
Obviously
lover?
Not. I knew that my child was dead. But you know what's really interesting is that 31 days
What's
after
interesting?
Suddenly the grand.
Speaking of George, he passed a poly. Just tell me, quick, when is menopause?
It's variable dependent upon the population and specific women. You begin to think about 40 to 50, that time frame generally.
So we're really not even close. She could still have a baby. That's the only news that could be worse right now. What? Did they ask you to be their advocate? I don't think they want you advocating for them, Tot Mom. What, like you advocated for your daughter or your mother or your father? You're voting not guilty every time you give Tot Mom one red penny.
Now, before we move on with the conversation, this is going to be a full disclosure moment, and let me explain something. I have to give background information. Does not mean I agree with the person. If you've been around here, you know I'm going to bring you the facts. I'm going to be honest. Now, when it comes to Substack, you can subscribe to somebody and you can subscribe to them for free. You can also follow somebody. It does not mean that they are monetized. I don't want anybody coming in here going, oh, just because people are over there doesn't mean that they're giving her money. Also, on TikTok, you do have to have a certain amount of followers to be able to have the opportunity to monetize. You have to apply. There's certain parameters. It has changed. There's been several iterations of the creator program or the creator fund. Okay. With that being said, there's no way she's doing this for free. She had one account that made it to, I believe, 40 or 50,000. That got banned. She came back with 2 more accounts. And on both accounts, she's saying, this is my only account. I don't have anything else. But she's naming it Casey Anthony and then adding her Substack onto it. There's no way she's not monetized. She has the comments turned off. Not only are people following and subscribing to her, I can't see her dashboard on Substack. Like I said, I'm telling you because I'm on Substack, and I'm telling you how it can be. I don't know how many of those are paid subscriptions. I don't know what she's saying to the people over there. She keeps just regurgitating the same video, putting the same video out. But I will say this. There are women, white women predominantly, that are proudly saying that they're following her on TikTok. There are white people of all gender identities defending her, saying she deserves grace, and saying that, oh, well, you all didn't criticize Gypsy Rose for being on here. Why are you criticizing her? I don't know what your algorithm looks like. But on my algorithm, when Gypsy Rose first joined TikTok, there were a slew of people who had a problem with her. I saw more videos with people saying why Gypsy Rose should not be on TikTok, let alone the internet anywhere else, Then I saw people happy to see her there or welcoming her in. People started retelling her story, digging into what was going on right now with her, all sorts of stuff. From the moment that anybody knew about this case, I have followed it. I followed the trial as in depth as I could, because some things I just had to walk away from. I was angry and I was getting to a point where full disclosure, I could have jeopardized my own freedom. I was getting to that point. But the sickness that is the United States, and predominantly white people and predominantly white women that will continue to defend the most egregious and platform them time after time after time again. I have watched people bravely disclose being assaulted, having their homes broken into, and how their stories have been picked apart. They've been questioned and they've been demonized, and they've had campaigns to get them banned, and people are, oh, I can't believe they came back. I never forget, want to keep bringing it back and keep re-traumatizing them. I have watched people, and I myself have been chased from platform to platform to platform because somebody decided, oh, I don't like you, so I'm going to rally other people behind you to not like you. And people didn't ask any questions and did it. But for Tot Mom, and I love Nancy Grace for doing this, because we have to stop making the villains famous and giving them infamy, can come on and give you the perfect example of white privilege / leverage and revisionist history. And people fall for it hook, line, and sinker. I have seen people make videos encouraging others to go and follow her and support her. And I've also witnessed people like the parents of school shooting victims who have now dedicated themselves to lobbying, advocating, and educating, not just about school shootings, but life after the tragedy, how to get assistance for trauma, how to help your other children through things, how to get yourself through it. And they're barely scraping through enough numbers to be able to go live, let alone be able to sustain themselves, let alone to be invited to all these paid interviews all over the place. Like, you really have to think about who you're platforming and why, and the power and the privilege and the opportunities you're giving the worst of society, and then have the audacity to be shocked and enraged when this shit keeps fucking happening. Because instead of saying, you know what, this is too much, I'm overwhelmed as a parent, I need some help, because I've been there as a parent. And thank goodness for my village. Because there was one time for a week, I could not stop crying. I felt like a failure. And I reached out to 2 people very close to me, and they came in clutch to help me. But instead of saying that, she took the life of her daughter. And you wonder why there's more and more and more, because they're doing it, and then they're getting fame and fortune and that American dream. But when you have families that are struggling, They find a niche for themselves now that social media is a place where people can make money, whether a little bit or a lot of bit. You tell people not to support their channels, where they're trying to keep their families together and alive and healthy and striving. You don't want to help them, but you will help this heifer? Is it the skin? Is it the undercarriage? But this is the same nation that made sex symbols out of serial killers. This is the same nation that still likes to brag about having signed pictures of Bonnie and Clyde. This is the same nation that to this day, the dental cast of Ted Bundy is still being used and commodified because there are women that'll pay for that indentation to be on their neck or any part of their body, and then they go and get that imprint tattooed on. This is the same nation that there was a whole merch craze over Jeffrey fucking Dahmer. But the Native Americans are the savages. Black people are who you should fear. If you ever got offended by myself or anybody else saying that white people can be comfortable in mediocrity, yet y'all question us and think that the standards were lower for us, if that ever made you uncomfortable, this is a prime example of why you should go fuck yourself with a rusted, mold-ridden, hepatitis-riddled pipe. No Vaseline. Because she looked right in the camera like 200 years passed, and she is some long-lost descendant of Tot Mom. It's like, maybe you don't know who I am. I've been a legal advocate since blah, blah, blah. But I guess, why not throw your hat in the arena? We got a rapist, grifting, con artist, felon in the Oval Office. Oh, and let's not forget the drunkard that we have as SecDef. Speaking of which, coming from the New York Post, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says U.S. is prepared to go to war with China over tariff threats. No, the fuck we're not. No, the fuck we're not. United States, quit. First of all, we ain't got no friends. So I can't call upon a friend and be like, hey, stop hyping us up. No, we're looking in the mirror, hyping ourselves up, forgetting we can't fight. We don't have no hands. Every other country has been running them steps, screaming, Adrian, for centuries now, okay? They've been waiting. They've been chilling in the cut, waiting. They about to sneak us. They are about to sneak the fuck out of us, okay? Woo! Talk about we're prepared. Boy, you ain't even prepared for the morning. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth declared early Wednesday that the U.S. is prepared to go to war with China hours after alarming threats from Beijing in response to Trump's stiff new tariffs. We're prepared, Hegseth said on Fox News. Of course, he's going back to his old. You know what I can't stand? A motherfucker who keeps going back to their old high school and their old jobs. We don't know you here no more. Said on Fox News' Fox and Friends in response to China saying it was ready to fight any type of war. No, the fuck we not. No, the fuck we not. Okay, we can't even fight an auto war because they whooping our ass in electric vehicles. That's why they not allowed to sell their vehicles over here. Fuck you mean? Those who long for peace must prepare for war, Hegseth said, stressing it is important to be strong. No. No. This is why you shouldn't let men be in charge of a damn thing, especially white men. Hell no. I need this shit to stop. Stop saying that the road to peace is through violence. Why you think we got all these violent ass kids, all these violent ass people walking around? I'm just trying to find my peace. Peace is not knocking somebody over the fucking head. The road to peace is not violence. Make it fucking make sense. Because if you come and lay hands on me, the last thing I'm feeling is fucking peaceful. China warns it's ready for any type of war as Trump tariffs go into effect. Fight till the end. This is why complete history needs to be told and taught. The Chinese study us and study us currently. They know that the support to do what you're posturing and your manufactured bravado is compelling you to want to do, you're not going to have the support for it, okay? Because a lot of us residing here in the confines of these borders, we going to snitch on y'all, okay? We're not coming out to fight with y'all, okay? It's going to be like South Korea when they tried to impose martial law. Absolutely not. Okay, we're going to laugh at you. We're going to laugh at you, okay? We are the home of Waffle House. Waffle House alone will feed the Chinese and get them some tips, okay? There's a collection of people, Pete Hegseth, that will give up your information expeditiously. Like, hey, you ain't even have to fight the whole military. Just go fight him. And like for Trump, y'all done pissed off the sister of Kim Jong-un, everybody in Canada, Mexico's president didn't already shown y'all, did she wake up and go to sleep to nuck if you buck? And now China, okay. Oh, and Venezuela and Cuba. Who can we run to fill this empty space? Who can we run to when we need guards? Because, child, we... I got... You know what? Let's take a minute to talk about some states' rights.
You believe in states' rights, except when a jury in that state convicts your nominee for president, you might be in a cult. If you claim you back the blue but want to defund the police when the police go to your nominee's house to retrieve national security secrets, you might be in a cult. If you're supporting a guy whose felony convictions prevent him from getting a security clearance, you might be in a cult. And if the guy you're supporting for president has felony convictions that prevent him from going to Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Cambodia, Canada, Chile, China, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Egypt, Ethiopia, Hong Kong,
my motion
India,
takes precedent.
Indonesia, Iran, Ireland, Israel, Japan, Kenya, Macau, Malaysia, Mexico, Morocco, Nepal, New Zealand, Peru, Philippines, Singapore, South Africa, South Korea, Taiwan, Tanzania, Tunisia, Turkey, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, and the UK, you might be in a cult.
Did you catch what I did there? Now we want to talk all this shit to all these countries that our POTUS can't even go to. Let me repeat. We want to talk all this shit about all these countries that our POTUS can't go to. I want you to think about the level of posturing that Trump is doing. Well, our POTUS can go there. Musk can go pretty much wherever he wants. But Trump can't. So he can't be face to face with anybody unless he invites them to the White House. Where all the security is increased. That's like that kid in school that only wanted to talk shit as soon as there was a crowd in between everybody or the teacher was standing right next to him, and he was pretty sure that teacher was standing between them. Note to y'all out there, if you ever have a face-to-face class with me and you start some shit, I'm not sacrificing my body for you. You wrote the check, get it cashed. Like a wise old man told me, that's your baby now. Rock it. But oh yeah, side note. Trump said that Musk doesn't have the authority to fire anyone. Does he not realize that that means this now becomes his responsibility in his lap? Because let's not forget that on Wednesday, he told Marco Rubio in front of the world and to his face that any mistake, he's getting blamed for anything. But let's look at Lauren Boebert getting fact-checked again.
Asking about the EPA, and I'm asking about your rogue bureaucrats that have enacted these unconstitutional regulations. Are you going to repeal them? Are you going to continue to implement them, or are you going to stop altogether since it's been overturned?
Do you understand the ruling?
Do you understand the ruling of the Supreme Court?
I do. And so your question is ill-formed. No.
Will you be repealing?
We're not going to stop.
You're going to unconstitutionally continue with these
rulemakings. We're going to adhere to the Supreme Court and continue to do our...
So which rulemakings are you going to roll back?
We're going to adhere to the Supreme Court and continue to do our work in accordance to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court.
So which ones are you going to repeal?
The Supreme Court didn't tell us to repeal anything.
They have been deemed unconstitutional.
No.
Absolutely, they have. This was a huge victory.
Mr. Regan, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I would just like to clarify a few things for my colleague from Colorado. The Loper-Bright ruling, as you know, said that the courts should not defer to agency rulemaking if a statute is ambiguous, and instead the courts get to determine whether or not what the statute means. Is that your understanding as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that would not require any regulations to be reversed or overturned, correct?
Correct.
There are people who take any and everything that the MAGA trucklefucks say as gospel. I and others can refute it with facts, and people doubt it. The only time a non-Euro-American is believed is when they're regurgitating the lies of the MAGA trucklefucks. Now, there are times that I truly don't believe that Lauren Boebert is lying. There are times that I think that she truly believes what she is saying. And there are people who blame it on when she received her GED. Let's not do that, because getting a GED is not an easy task. You're taking on a multitude of years worth of education within between a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and you're being tested on it. That is a feat that should not be downgraded. That is an accomplishment. What should be questioned is, was she the one that took the test? Because at this point, who helped her? Where did her tutelage come from? And did they skip assisting her with critical thinking? And whoever voted for her and continues to vote for her and support her, why would you want your representation to not be qualified for the position if it were not for racism? Now, I know all the people who want to swap undercarriage fluids with her, but that's not enough people to continuously get her voted in. I want people to remember, you're not sticking it to the libs. You're not sticking it to somebody else. We all have to live under the legislation that gets pushed through. They're not going to walk around and go, oh, who did you vote for? Okay, this law doesn't apply to you, because there's really no true way to verify who anybody actually voted for. Because there are a lot of people who are pretending to be Trump supporters that have never voted for him, that have never voted at all. There are people who are pretending to be on the left who vote for this shit every single time. This is why I say there's no escape for anyone from racism until it is made extinct. The mindset of, I don't mind suffering as long as somebody else suffers more, there is no, we've hit the bottom. There's nowhere for anybody to stand below you. You've been cut off at the knees. And because you are the major crab in the barrel pulling everybody down, there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go. Now, if you were not made aware, Representative Al Green, not Love and Happiness Al Green, the other one, was censured today. To no one's surprise, there were Democrats that voted in favor of his censure as well, because he was disruptive when Trump addressed the joint meeting of Congress. So I guess we're going to ignore Gates and his not so great 8, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they disrupted with wardrobe, vocally, just utterly disrespectful. But for anybody who thinks that we are exaggerating when we talk about revisionist history, here's yet another example of them revising history as things happen.
The behavior of Democrats last night was completely disgraceful and demonstrated how severely out of touch they are with the American public. It was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that beautiful chamber. In what was supposed to be a unifying moment for our country, Democrat members of Congress instead screamed at the President of the United States, who was just overwhelmingly reelected by their constituents, walked out of the chamber, and worst of all, they disrespected the American people.
You know, KK Caroline, I'm starting to see why you got the job, right? You lacking in the upper lip department allows for the bullshit just to flow out of your mouth so fucking easy. Shut the fuck up. Everybody may suddenly have amnesia, but I don't.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you.
Oh, that destroyed your narrative too, that Democrats didn't give a shit about Lake and Riley. Did you also forget this one?
Administration alone, the last one. The facts, check it out. Check it out. How did Congress respond to that debt? Some fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy.
Oh, it's a good thing that Mike Johnson wasn't in charge then, huh? To sit there and lecture Marjorie Taylor Greene on decorum. Or have her dragged out of there by that ugly-ass white fur coat she wore in lieu of wearing a white hood. So fucking spare me. Ah, this is the most disgraceful thing in history. What, since last fucking year? And since you want to call someone like me evil, right? Who's not exactly pissed that the Democrats didn't stand up for that poor child that had fucking cancer and sitting there being used as a political pawn. Let's play a game called What's More Evil? Not clapping for a fucking political stunt? Or being pissed off that this administration cut funding for fucking cancer research? Cut funding for Medicaid that tens of thousands of children that have fucking cancer depend on? What's more evil, KK Caroline? And since there's so many illegal immigrants out there killing all these innocent white girls, why do you still have to use Lake and Riley? Have there not been more? So shut the fuck up. It's old. It's tired. And the only reason you have any fucking votes is because those fucking morons, all they can comprehend is political theater. That's easy. That's why Donald Trump has their fucking support, because that's all they can understand. Policy, actual policy, is a lot harder to fucking comprehend.
For those that watched the coverage of the speech with me, when that young man at 13 years old was brought out, and I'm saying brought out because he was paraded, I said this was tokenization. Wednesday night was a parade of trauma. Trauma was on full display and was used, and tokenization was. And I said, watch the GOP use this, and any critique of it, they're going to call you racist. They're going to call you hateful. They're going to say you don't care about children. You're doubting my words. It's up. You can go look at it. And that's exactly what's happening. The token fest that was Wednesday night. Y'all have been looking for distractions. That was the distraction, to distract you from what they're taking away from you. Like, oh, they gave this to this boy. Oh, look, they gave another boy a scholarship to West Point. Oh, they named this after that poor child that was murdered. Instead of working to fix the problem. That young man, from what was said, you take Trump's words as a quarter of a grain of salt. Okay? As a nanospeck of a mustard seed, because he lies as easily and involuntarily as we tend to blink and breathe. His cancer is in remission. But should it come back, what will we have to offer him and his family? Because we will be eons out of touch with research. What is going on now will take generations to recover and recoup. When Biden took office, we were just now getting back to where we were at the starting point of McCarthyism. Go research it. Go look it up. We were just getting back to that. We can't keep up with other people, and we cannot keep up with life as we know it to provide innovations, etc. Because this country keeps putting racism above everything. This is why I need people to stop looking at other countries going, oh, they're living in 2045 and we're in 2025. No, sweetheart, we're in 1825. We are the epitome of we take 2 steps forward and we knock ourselves 50 steps back. And then we convince ourselves that that 50 steps back is the greatest that there ever is, that we are the pinnacle of success. When I say this country is an adolescent, I am not being facetious. We govern ourselves and we live with the mindset of a teenager, that we know everything and that we are invincible and nobody can do it better than us because we just figured this out, or we just noticed this new thing where it's just new to us and it's old to everyone else. Because mark my words, we will eventually, just a little bit, start to get our shit together. And there will be generations, there will be people who are like, how do we ever survive without X, Y, and Z? And there'll be people who will take pride in this turmoil that we're living in yet again. We are stuck in a Groundhog Day because overwhelmingly we fear supporting on the right side of history. And before you go, but no, look at this war, and look at that war, and look at this period of history where the United States had to be coerced into it, where the United States didn't do anything truly on the right side of history. The United States did just enough to have a footnote where it appeared that they did, where they could market it as they did. Because if we truly stood on the right side of history, we wouldn't have gone from being an ally to an axis. Once again, thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz. Please check out all the links in my bio. Subscribe where you can. And if you enjoyed tonight's content or any of my other content, please, when you come back, bring a friend with you. Or invite them to check out anything else on this platform or any others. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And I will see you all tomorrow on the Eager TikTok page at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Go out and get into some good trouble, but nothing that requires bail, not in this economy.